For centuries, the Vatican has stood as the symbol of faith, tradition, and divine authority. But behind the walls of this sacred city lies a vault of secrets so deep, so carefully guarded, that even many devoted followers have no idea they exist. Whispers among historians, conspiracy theorists, and even former insiders suggest that the Church's influence over history might go far beyond religion, stretching into politics, science, and even the very timeline of human civilization. One of the most controversial claims is the mysterious disappearance of 3 full centuries from the Middle Ages. Known as the phantom time hypothesis, some researchers argue that hundreds of years, between roughly 614 and 911 AD, may have been fabricated. Could this have been a deliberate act to alter history, shifting the calendar to suit the agendas of powerful rulers and the Church itself? If true, this means the year you think you're living in could be off by centuries. And it's not just a matter of dates. Changing the past means rewriting the truth, burying events that could completely change our understanding of human history. Was this manipulation just about politics and power, or could it have been an attempt to hide something far more shocking, like evidence of an ancient cataclysm, perhaps even a devastating war using technology we're told shouldn't have existed? The trail of clues hidden in forbidden manuscripts, secret archives, and cryptic Vatican statements suggests this mystery might be bigger than we've ever imagined. To understand how such a massive deception could even be possible, we have to look at the Vatican's most guarded treasure, the Secret Archives. Despite the name, this isn't just a dusty library of religious documents. It's a sprawling vault containing more than 53 miles of shelving, filled with manuscripts, letters, maps, and records that stretch back over 1,000 years. And here's the thing. Almost none of it is accessible to the public. Even qualified researchers have to go through an intense vetting process, and once inside, they're allowed to request only a handful of documents at a time, carefully selected and monitored. Why such secrecy? Officially, it's to protect delicate historical materials. But according to those who have worked inside, there are records here that could shatter mainstream history. Imagine ancient maps depicting continents that shouldn't have been known to Europeans. Imagine chronicles describing advanced technology in the hands of civilizations long thought primitive. And imagine, as some insiders whisper, evidence of catastrophic events so destructive they could only be described as apocalyptic. It is within these forbidden shelves that clues to the missing centuries may be buried. And if the Vatican truly did alter the calendar, then these archives could contain the real timeline of human history, a version where ancient wars, forgotten empires, and even otherworldly encounters are part of our past. The theory of missing centuries might sound like pure conspiracy, until you realize how many strange gaps and inconsistencies exist in the historical record. Historians have long puzzled over the so-called phantom time hypothesis, first proposed by German historian Dr. Heribert Illig. He suggested that somewhere between the years 614 and 911 AD, history, as we know it, was fabricated. That's nearly 300 years gone. According to Illig, key rulers, wars, and entire dynasties were invented, their deeds forged in medieval manuscripts. Now here's where it gets truly unsettling. Multiple cultures, completely independent from each other, record eerily similar apocalyptic events around this phantom period. Ancient chronicles from China, the Middle East, and even early European monasteries describe the sky turning red, strange clouds at night, and thunder without sound, followed by mass famine and disease. Some researchers believe these could be descriptions of volcanic eruptions or meteor impacts, but others, reading between the lines, see something else entirely. A war fought with weapons far beyond medieval capability. Radiation burns described as blisters from the sun. Cities reduced to ash in moments, rivers poisoned for generations. Are these poetic metaphors, or veiled attempts to describe a catastrophe so technologically advanced that medieval scribes had no words for it? except to call it the wrath of God? If this war really happened, erasing it from history would not just be about hiding the truth. It would be about protecting the power of those who survived it. And who had the most to gain from rewriting the past? Many fingers point to the one institution that had both the resources and the global influence: the medieval church. The Vatican's influence in the Middle Ages was not just spiritual, it was absolute. With the collapse of the Roman Empire, the church became the custodian of knowledge, the gatekeeper of history, and most importantly, the owner of the written word. Monasteries copied and preserved books, but they also decided which stories would survive and which would vanish. Hidden deep in the Vatican Secret Archives, a massive underground vault said to stretch for over 50 miles of shelving, are manuscripts that have never been seen by the public. Whistleblowers claim some of these documents describe events that sound eerily like modern warfare, but recorded centuries before such technology officially existed. One rumored text, known only through secondary references, speaks of a great fire that fell from the heavens and roared like 1,000 dragons. Entire regions were rendered uninhabitable. Survivors retreated into fortified enclaves, carrying with them the holy light of the old world. To some researchers, these aren't religious metaphors at all. They're eyewitness accounts of a nuclear detonation. The holy light could have been advanced technology preserved by a small elite, while the rest of humanity was left to rebuild from scratch. Now here's the most controversial claim. By erasing the centuries in which this disaster occurred, the church could control the narrative. Instead of a story of human self-destruction through advanced weaponry, the official history became one of steady progress guided by divine will. The medieval church positioned itself not as the inheritor of lost science, but as the sole moral authority on earth. If this is true, the missing centuries aren't just a quirk of medieval bookkeeping. They're a deliberate smokescreen to hide a technological cataclysm and the survivors who profited from it. If the so-called phantom centuries were truly a cover-up, then traces of a lost event might still be hiding in plain sight. In art, folklore, and strange medieval relics that historians have never fully explained. Take, for example, certain illuminated manuscripts from the 10th to 12th centuries. Among delicate gold leaf borders and saintly portraits, you suddenly find bizarre scenes. Towering mushroom-shaped clouds, beams of light striking fortified cities, and armored figures wearing what look eerily similar to protective suits. Officially, these images are symbolic depictions of divine wrath. But to an untrained viewer, they bear a chilling resemblance to modern photographs of nuclear tests. Then there are the mystery ruins scattered across Europe. Castles and fortifications with stone walls that appear to have been melted as if exposed to extreme heat, not fire. Archaeologists chalk this up to ancient siege techniques or lightning strikes, but skeptics point out that the vitrification of stone requires temperatures far beyond what medieval armies could produce. Even folklore contains unsettling echoes of technological disaster. In various European legends, there's mention of a sun that fell, burning both land and sky, forcing survivors to live underground for generations. Later, when they emerged, the keepers of the light ruled over the rebuilding world. Perhaps a poetic description of the church holding advanced, salvaged knowledge. Most disturbing of all are the astronomical records from this gap in history. Certain monastic star charts depict sudden, blinding objects in the sky. New suns that appear and vanish without explanation. Were these meteors? Or something far more controlled? And far more dangerous? If all of this is connected, then what we call the Middle Ages might have been less of a slow crawl toward enlightenment and more of a post-apocalyptic recovery period. One rewritten to hide the truth. If we accept the idea that the Vatican may have rewritten history, the question becomes, how could such a colossal cover-up be pulled off and enforced for over 1,000 years? The first key lies in the monopoly over knowledge. During the so-called Middle Ages, the Church controlled not just the moral and spiritual life of Europe, but also the physical repositories of information. Every book, every manuscript, every official record passed through monasteries and scriptoria. If a text contradicted the approved version of history, it could be altered, corrected, or quietly destroyed. In some cases, entire languages of ancient records, such as certain regional runes and scripts, were deliberately suppressed, ensuring that the stories they told would fade from living memory. The second tool was the manipulation of time itself. The official church calendar, heavily influenced by papal decrees, was not merely a system for tracking holy days. It was a tool of control. By shifting or adding years, events could be compressed, expanded, or erased without the common people ever realizing. This allowed a seamless insertion of fabricated centuries, the so-called phantom time, into the historical record. Third came the architecture of authority. The Vatican's reach extended into every corner of the continent through bishops, priests, and inquisitors, each enforcing the official narrative. Questioning the Church's account of the past wasn't just frowned upon. It was heresy, a crime punishable by death. Public fear ensured that even those who suspected the truth kept silent. And finally, there's the possibility of selective preservation of technology. If an advanced civilization had existed before this reset, then remnants of its knowledge may have been deliberately hoarded by the Church. This would explain strange accounts of medieval inventions that seemed far ahead of their time, only to vanish again until rediscovered centuries later. By controlling history, the Vatican didn't just shape the past, they shaped the present and the future. And if the rumors are true, they may still be doing it today. Hidden deep within the walls of Vatican City lies one of the most mysterious places on Earth, the Vatican Secret Archives. Despite the name, these archives are not a single library, but a sprawling labyrinth of climate-controlled vaults, iron doors, and guarded chambers containing over 50 miles of shelves. According to the official line, they hold nothing more sinister than centuries of church correspondence, papal bulls, and mundane administrative records. But historians and conspiracy researchers suspect far more lies within, documents that could rewrite human history. Among the rumored treasures, ancient maps depicting continents before the last ice age, suggesting a knowledge of Earth far older than recorded history. Detailed chronicles of catastrophic wars fought with weapons eerily similar to modern nuclear arms. Battles described as bringing fire from the heavens and turning cities to glass. Original texts of the Book of Enoch and other banned scriptures, whose contents may directly contradict the accepted biblical narrative. Evidence of lost civilizations, perhaps even records of humanity's contact with beings from beyond Earth. Access to these archives is virtually impossible for outsiders. Only a handful of approved scholars are allowed in, and even then, they can request only specific documents, without knowing what else is stored. No wandering, no browsing, and absolutely no photography. Some ex-priests and whistleblowers claim that entire rooms are filled with artifacts, not just papers, that predate our known history by thousands of years. There are whispers of strange metallic objects, ancient devices with unknown functions, and even preserved bodies of non-human entities. If the Vatican truly possesses such items, it would mean they are not merely curators of the Christian faith, but gatekeepers of humanity's forgotten past. And if so, one has to wonder, are they protecting us from dangerous truths, or protecting their power over us? If the whispers about the Vatican's archives are true, then one of the most disturbing secrets they may be hiding involves evidence of an ancient global war, one that could have been nuclear. This theory isn't just born from wild imagination. Across the world, archaeologists have uncovered puzzling signs of intense, high-heat destruction in ancient ruins, the kind of devastation that modern science associates with nuclear blasts, not primitive weaponry. In the deserts of Mohenjo-Daro, layers of fused green glass, identical to trinitite, the glass created by nuclear test explosions, have been found embedded in the earth. In Scotland, certain ancient stone forts called vitrified forts have walls that were melted into glass-like material, as if exposed to unimaginable heat. Even in the Middle East, certain sites mentioned in ancient scriptures bear traces of sudden, total obliteration. Ancient Indian texts, such as the Mahabharata, describe terrifying weapons capable of lighting up the sky brighter than 1,000 suns, bringing death to entire armies and turning the ground to ash. These accounts, eerily similar to modern nuclear warfare, have been dismissed by mainstream historians as poetic metaphors. But what if they were literal records of events that actually happened? If such a war took place, who fought it? Was it a conflict between rival human civilizations, now long erased from our history books? Or could it have been a war between humans and something not human? Here's where the Vatican enters the picture. Some believe they possess documents and artifacts proving these events happened. Maps of ancient cities destroyed in a single day, weapons unlike anything known in the ancient world, and sealed records of survivors whose descendants may still live among us. If the Church holds proof of such a cataclysm, revealing it could shake the very foundations of religion, science, and our understanding of human origins. Perhaps this is why such information, if it exists, is kept buried. Because once humanity learns we've been reset before, we might question whether it could happen again, and whether it's already in motion. If we follow the threads of this mystery further, a chilling possibility begins to emerge. What if the so-called missing centuries in our history are not a matter of poor record-keeping, but deliberate erasure to hide the aftermath of that ancient cataclysm? Some historians and independent researchers argue that between the years roughly 614 and 911 AD, there is a strange lack of consistent historical documentation. This theory, known as the phantom time hypothesis, suggests that nearly 300 years of the early Middle Ages may have been fabricated. According to this idea, key figures like Charlemagne might be fictional, and events like entire wars or dynasties may never have happened at all. But why would such a deception be carried out? One unsettling answer: to cover the period immediately following an advanced ancient war. A war that may have thrown the world into chaos, erased entire civilizations, and left the survivors starting over from near zero. If such a war truly occurred, the landscape after it would have been unrecognizable. Cities turned to ash, strange radiation lingering in the soil, and fragmented cultures scattered across the globe. Those who controlled the narrative, whether the Vatican, monarchies, or other secretive powers, would have had the perfect opportunity to rewrite the story of humanity, filling in the void with a safe version of events. Imagine it: the Vatican, aware of the real cause of the destruction, commissioning new calendars, adjusting historical timelines, and suppressing any surviving records or relics that didn't match the new, sanitized history. Entire libraries may have been destroyed, and heretical manuscripts locked away deep in the Archivum Secretum, the Vatican's legendary hidden vaults. In this rewritten history, ancient advanced technology becomes nothing more than myths. Nuclear-like destruction becomes acts of God. And the true nature of humanity's past is buried under layers of false dates and fabricated rulers. But the cracks in the official story are showing. Archaeological anomalies, contradictory records, and strange gaps in human development all point towards something we were never meant to know. And if the keepers of this secret have gone to such lengths to hide it, one has to wonder, what are they hiding about our future? If the Vatican truly orchestrated one of the greatest historical cover-ups in human history, then the question becomes, why now? Why would they still be guarding these secrets so fiercely in the modern age, when satellites, global communication, and independent researchers are making it harder than ever to control the narrative? One theory suggests the answer is simple. The events that were buried in the past may be on the verge of repeating themselves. Deep inside the Vatican Secret Archives, far from public eyes, there are rumored to be forbidden manuscripts and artifacts that describe an ancient global catastrophe eerily similar to what modern science warns could happen again. whether through nuclear conflict, asteroid impact, or something far stranger. If humanity once reached a technological peak before destroying itself, then perhaps the Vatican's hidden knowledge isn't just about the past. It's a warning about the future. Some researchers believe the Church fears that revealing the truth would shatter its authority, destabilize governments, and plunge the world into chaos. After all, if people knew that entire centuries of history were fabricated, and that our ancestors wielded destructive power equal or greater to ours, trust in the pillars of modern civilization could collapse overnight. And yet, there's another, darker possibility: that this knowledge is not merely being hidden, but actively used. If certain elites have access to suppressed ancient technologies or lost knowledge of physics, they may be quietly harnessing it, steering humanity toward a controlled future under their rule. Whispers in conspiracy circles even claim that the strange spikes in global political tension, the renewed interest in nuclear arsenals, and the sudden obsession with controlling space are not coincidences. They may be signs that those in power are preparing for, or perhaps trying to prevent, another great reset of civilization. But here's the twist: the truth cannot stay buried forever. As more archaeological discoveries defy conventional timelines, as ancient ruins reveal engineering far beyond what primitive civilizations should have achieved, and as ordinary people gain access to forbidden knowledge through the internet, the Vatican's centuries-old wall of secrecy is starting to crumble. The question is, when the dam finally breaks, will the revelation free humanity, or doom us to repeat the same bloody cycle our ancestors lived through?